Hello everyone, welcome to our Assassin's Creed Valhalla patch 1.04 analysis video, and I'm being joined by Pikal right now.
Hi, it's me.
So, me and Pikal have been playing through Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We've both beaten the game, and we have come across numerous issues on patch 1.02.
Hell yeah, I uploaded a glitch video and there's so much in it, dude. It's so dumb.
Yeah, and I'm planning on doing the same thing as well because the amount of problems I've encountered with this game is unreal. And compared to Unity, like I barely encountered any issues in Unity. I mean, I know Unity was a very buggy game at launch, but the bugs were so hard to notice at times. I don't know if it's the same with
Especially
you.
wasn't that buggy for me. Like, I feel like I've had more glitches in Odyssey than Unity, but Valhalla is like so much more glitchy.
It's unbelievable that it's the case. But we have the patch notes pulled up right now, so we're going to go through each individual point. We'll give our thoughts, because there is a lot to say here, because this patch is at least 4.256 gigabytes. That is quite a lengthy patch, although not as lengthy as a day one patch for Unity, of course. But the first thing is that there are a couple of patch options available for the PS5, which we're not going to go into because we don't have a PS5 available, and there's stuff for Xbox One X, which we don't have. There's stuff for PC, but I guess like the main thing I can cover with that is that there's a performance mode and a quality mode that's been set for the next gen version, so you'll be able to play the game at 60 FPS. Which, if I get a PS5, I will definitely do it on that because I prefer frame rate to graphics. I don't know if you feel the same about that.
Yeah, as long as I can like see the game and see what I'm doing, I don't care if the graphics are like the best or the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, definitely. And there's also the quality mode option, which will allow you to maintain full resolution while maintaining 30 FPS. That's all that done. And now we're going to move on to the actual important parts of the updates. So the first thing we have is the miscellaneous updates. So the first important thing to bear in mind is they've added various visual effects to enhance visuals. And I assume that's just there for graphical fidelity, nothing
Yeah,
really important there.
just graphic stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully they
And
fix invisible fire.
yeah, invisible fire definitely, because I've come across that issue many, many times with the fire. The fire is just crazy in this game. But now we have this next point here where they've added an option to automatically assign unspent skill points. This option is available from the center of the skill tree / fate, and I assume what they're referring to is the fates are the red, blue, and yellow trees. So if you have any unspent skill points, they'll just automatically assign it. And I don't know if that is that like a feature you can turn on or off. I wonder.
Well, it's probably like an option. Like you probably have to go to the center and like press a button to do it, and it probably just randomly assigns the skill points to things that you don't have yet.
Yeah, I would assume so. Next thing is added weapon runes and armor runes as titles to their respective sections. That's pretty good if you're wanting to differentiate between the runes. Added a warning when switching from a language that supports text to speech to one that doesn't. Well, that's not a big deal because we both don't really need to use text to speech. Sliders can be moved with left to right arrows on the mouse and keyboard, and controllers. That's just a minor thing. I mean, originally you had to press X, I believe, to change between the sliders. Am I correct?
I think so. Yeah, I think you had to like mouse over it and press the button.
Yeah. Okay, and the next thing is they've increased the fabric limit to 82. So this is such a pointless change because getting resources on this game is so easy, and they're not really there's never really a need to purchase anything. You know, like I'm running around with like 2,000 silver coins because there's nothing to really buy.
Yeah.
Like I've been
And
going,
82 is such a random arbitrary number for no reason.
yeah, you know, like why not like 85 or 80? Why not just be a multiple 5 or 10? So
Or like
strange.
100 or something.
Yeah, I know. Next thing is they've added fabric to traders once a settlement has reached level 6, which
Which seems pointless.
yeah, because you're already going to have a lot of resources by the end. Like,
Yeah.
to get to level
By
6, you
the
have to
time
beat
you
the
reach
game.
level 6, yeah, by the time you reach level 6, you're probably already gonna have all the fabric you need.
Yeah, definitely. And the next thing is that they've added offering altar requirements to the world map. So, I'm not sure what they mean by offering altar requirements. Could you clarify on that, Pickle, if you know?
Altars are like things you find at the mystery blue dots, and I think you have to like pay money to like offer your stuff to the gods. And I think like you have to the map will just tell you how much money you need for it now.
Okay, so that's pretty good. Just so you don't run there and be like, oh, shoot, I need to have 10,000 silver coins.
Yeah,
Although I don't think it's that expensive, is it?
Probably not.
I suppose
But
so.
it'll at least tell you how much you need before you go there, instead of having to go there and then find out how much you need and be like, oh, I don't have this much and I have to come back later.
Yep, that's
So it's like a
definitely good.
quality of life change.
Yep. All right, now we're going to move on to the balancing issues. So they've updated gear quality and gear to their correct values, which I'm not too sure what they mean. I assume they're being a little bit more honest with the attack and defense values of the
Yeah.
gear. Hmm.
Probably affect when you upgrade stuff at the blacksmith.
Probably. They've added assassination damage stats on the character stats page, which is pointless because if you have guaranteed assassination on,
Yeah.
it supersedes that. Which,
If you're not playing with that on, why are you playing the game?
yeah, I know. And the funny thing is that when you're hovering over the option for guaranteed assassination, they're like, "Oh, if you turn this on, you're going to be playing the game the way it was not intended." But Assassin's Creed has always been about stealth. Assassin's Creed has always been about instant kill attacks. Like, remember how much emotional impact it is with using the hidden blade on Templar
The
targets?
the amount of times I've assassinated an enemy in Odyssey, and the game was like, "Oh, you're gonna assassinate this enemy in one hit," and then I don't, and the game's like, "Nope, we lied because you're bad." It's like, it's why I'm
Yeah, I know.
stabbing a guy in the neck with a sharp blade that should kill him in one hit.
Yeah, and you're catching him by surprise. He's not like fighting back or anything. Like it's
Yeah,
stupid. It's arbitrary
in
level
Odyssey
design.
even let you like do critical assassination, so you can increase your assassination damage with critical hits. And even then, when you did that, it didn't always kill.
It's so stupid. So that's why I never play this game with guaranteed assassination off. Now they've removed duplicate gear from the inventory. So that's probably going to be hard for people if they're trying to sell loot to gain access to money.
Yeah,
But money on this
but I
game is
never
pointless
really
anyway.
found much duplicate gear anyway.
Yeah, I don't think I've done the same either. Heavy and light attack stats will now adjust correctly based on acquired skill nodes. So I assume that relates back to the earlier point of updating gear quality and gear to their correct values.
Yeah,
Yeah. Heavy attack modifiers will no longer be applied to range attacks. Okay, so apparently pre-patch heavy attack modifiers could like increasing heavy attack damage with increased range attack. Hmm.
yeah, because I don't think you're meant to be doing heavy attack with a bow.
Probably because
Doesn't make sense.
you're using R2 for the bow and R2 is your heavy attack.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now we move on to game improvements, performance, and stability. So they've improved stability and performance, which I mean, the frame rate on this game is definitely better than Assassin's Creed Unity because the frame rate is pretty
yeah.
bad. Although like Odyssey was pretty bad as well. With like
I've had so many times in Odyssey where the frame rate just dipped down to like 1 or 2 frames per second because like some random enemy glitched through a wall and it made the whole game just slow down to the slowest speed possible.
all because of something simple like that.
Yeah,
Wow,
they like got stretched like halfway across the map and it was dumb.
that's so stupid. Now we move on to these other things which relate to the different consoles. So Xbox Series X improved experience on Xbox Series X. PC they've addressed a VRAM/RAM leakage issue when alt tabbing to desktop, which we're playing on PS4, so we don't that doesn't matter. And now we move on to save games. So, corrected some instances where load game would not display save games correctly. So, I fall into this category because I had a moment where my save data was saying I was going to load into Nottinghamshire for a quest, but for some reason it loaded me into Gloucestershire, into the part where you're supposed to kill Modron.
Yeah, I've never had that, but I have had times where like it's data corrupted, so hopefully they also fix that.
Yeah, because I know there's a big bug with being offline, and there's a save issue
Yeah,
resulting from that.
but that was a PC exclusive bug from my knowledge.
Hmm. Although, didn't you say you encountered that?
I
Did you
mean, I
encounter that on
didn't.
PS4?
Well, it said data corrupted, but it didn't like delete my whole save game.
Hmm.
Like I could still play the game and like reload from a previous save that wasn't corrupted.
Okay, so it's not as bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Next thing is that they've renamed cloud saves to make them more distinguishable from regular saves. So previously the cloud save was only highlighted with a cloud icon. Now they will be called, for example, manual save cloud, which I'm not too sure how exactly cloud saves work on this game. I don't know when they trigger.
It's probably, now that I think about it, it's probably for when you transfer saves from like PS4 to PS5, like something like that.
Yeah, but I still get the. Why do I still get the cloud
Because
icon then? Very
because
odd.
even when you don't have a PS5, you can still have cloud saves.
Yeah, I just wish there was more control over it, but I guess not. Next thing is that they've removed cloud saves from the save menu. This will ensure that it cannot be overridden unintentionally, so that's good. I mean, I think they should do the same with the quick saves, because the amount of times I try to load a quick save and I'm trying to delete all the recent auto saves to ensure that the quick save is at the top of the page is a lot. I mean, the auto saves in general in Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla are really bad. They always put you in some
Origins
random
didn't even
locations.
have it.
No, it did. I mean, Origins put you in some random positions every time you reloaded.
Yeah, but it didn't have a manual quick save.
Oh, you're talking about that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next thing is that they've added a notification when a cloud save retrieval has failed. Good. That's always good to have feedback like that. And now we move on to graphics, audio, and animation. So they've addressed various graphical issues across the board. So I've come across issues where I've been in the loading screen, and instead of showing the northern lights, it's shown a white light. So that's probably
Yeah,
one thing they
I've had
fixed.
that too, and it's just weird.
Yeah, and they've addressed various effects issues, which they're not really clear as to what kind of effects.
I
But
mean, it's just FX that would probably FX in general.
hmm. So address various instances of clipping issues. So we both fall into that category. I've
Yeah,
gotten moments where I gotten stuck on a tree. I've gotten moments where I've
yeah.
been stuck between a wagon and a
The
wall.
the Fenrir fight, like he started clipping into a wall for me.
Yeah, and I know you had that moment in your glitch compilation video where you went through a wall in London.
Oh yeah, I got stuck in a wall, and the game like killed me because it was freaking out and didn't know what to do.
So stupid. Uh, Next thing is various issues related to Avor's cloak. So I've come across this issue many times where my cloak is stretched like crazy when I'm in the loading screen. Only during the loading
Yeah,
screen though, not during gameplay.
I've had that a little bit, and I've seen things in like pre-release demos where like people were riding on their horse, and like Avor's cloak would like stretch on the horse.
Well, it's good to see that gun, even if it didn't really impact the gameplay that much. But addressed various instances of player or NPC animation issues. So I'm not too sure what specific animation issues they're talking about, but I can't say I've really noticed that big of animation issues.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the animations in this game are just reused from Odyssey, but that's not like a glitch. That's just Ubisoft being lazy.
Yeah, a lot of RPG games kind of utilize that simple animation structure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Addressed various audio issues. So, audio issues. Audio issues. Like you get a lot of those moments where an NPC is talking, or you're talking, and then for some reason the audio cuts out, and then it plays back again, but then it just gets canceled out because of some other character
Oh,
talking.
oh, I just remember a time where like I was doing we were in the Kent arc and I was riding Vesam on a horse and he was like doing dialogue and we got to the location where we were supposed to go and his dialogue restarted from the beginning.
Oh, yeah, I think I've had that as well. That's pretty bad. Addressed various lighting issues. So, lighting issues is in. I assume they're talking about like moments where when you're on the Alliance map and the screen goes dark for some reason.
Yeah, and I've had times where like I've gone into caves and the screen was just like so dark that I couldn't even see, even when I brought out a torch.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. That would suck greatly if you had no light and you couldn't see where you were going.
Yeah.
Shadow resolution on high will now use correct values. Well, I don't play with shadow resolution high or not. So,
Mm.
yeah, not that big of a deal for me. And now we move on to the world. So they've addressed various texture or object placement issues. So I'm not too sure what they're referring to here, but I can't say I've come across this issue.
I've had things in Origins or like in Odyssey where like things would just like float in midair for no reason. Like I once like jumped off like a high place, a haystack in Odyssey, and like when I came out the haystack, I noticed the haystack was floating.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? This almost reminds me of those moments in Assassin's Creed Unity where NPCs would be flying or in the ground.
So yeah,
Yeah. Address some instances where the player could become stuck in specific locations. So I've already specified this. I've been stuck in trees. I've been stuck
Yeah,
in wagons and walls.
I got stuck in a hole in Finland.
Yeah, and that's in this glitch compilation video if you want to check it out.
Yeah,
A fish in Norway will now spawn in bad weather. I mean, I don't see the point in this because I don't fish that much. I don't really use the fishing rod in this game because I just mainly go into the water and just attack any fish that happen to come my way.
I fished like one time, and I've also only gone back to Norway like one time.
Yeah, the only time I've ever gone back to Norway, aside from the main story, is to get an animus anomaly.
Yeah, that's same.
Yeah. Crows will no longer randomly fall from the sky in Asgard. Never came across this issue.
Never saw that.
Now we move on to gameplay, combat, and AI, and this is a big thing for me. Addressed various bow aiming issues, so I can't even begin to count on my hands and my toes how many times I've just come across so many issues of trying to aim my bow at a weak spot, and the aiming is so sluggish, and the auto aim is just messing with my aim, that hitting the weak spots is so hard. Like, I go through at least 10 arrows before I finally get the hit out on the weak spot. It's so
And
frustrating.
I've had times where like I get detected by an enemy and the game goes slow mo, like it does, and I try to aim, I be able to shoot them before they fully detect me, and then my camera just does like a full 180 for no reason.
Man, I haven't come across your issue, but that sounds pretty bad. Um, Improved NPC and boss behavior across the board. So they're not very clear as to what kind of NPC and boss behavior they're talking about, but I hope they fix Fenrir because Fenrir is the buggiest boss on this game. Like,
You're so dumb, dude.
yeah, I know. Like the amount of times he gets stuck into the ground, and then the amount of times he goes out of the boundaries of the area. It's so broken.
And like I've had times where like when he goes in the ground, he like hits me like he hits me twice somehow when he goes into the ground, and it's so dumb.
Yeah, no kidding. Next thing is NPCs will now react to the player stealing, so think twice before stealing. I mean, I didn't even know like the thing is that stealing isn't even like a part of the game's tutorial. You happen to just stumble upon the stealing mechanic randomly. So
And it's not like Odyssey where stealing is like red and it's not like steal is written in red where you go to steal things. And there's also no mercenaries that chase you, so you don't have a mercenary bar. So there's like no reason to not do it.
yeah, no kidding.
There's no consequence.
Yeah. Address an issue where dogs would start levitating when Eivor starts to pet them. I haven't petted any dogs, so I wouldn't know this.
I pet one dog in my entire playthrough.
Blocking spring gold projectiles will now consume stamina as intended, so I believe the spring golds are those giant crossbows you encounter in forts.
Yeah.
And apparently you could block them without wasting any stamina, so that's pointless because you just dodge them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You either just dodge them or like get behind them and kill the guy shooting it.
Yeah. Alright, next thing is that zealots that were hit with a sleep dart can now be stun attacked. So I didn't even know sleep darts were a thing in this game.
Sleep darts are in this. Yeah, I didn't even know they were in this game until I read the patch notes. I don't even know how you get them.
Yeah, me neither. And I assume when they're saying stun attack, it means like you can drain their stun bar and just do the actual
Yeah,
like attack it.
it's just the same as when you get rid of the yellow bar.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Next thing is that Zealots will no longer instantly regenerate to full health when the player is considered out of conflict but still in the Zealot's vicinity. Um, so I don't know how much of an impact this is because I was hoping they would actually fix the healing system with the Zealot because the Zealot has the ability to chug on a gourd and they do it infinitely. They have an infinite amount of heals, and it's one of the main reasons why the Zealots are so broken on this game. And not only that, but they have like hitbox issues, phantom range, animation canceling nonsense, and that's why I had to post that video of me using the rope pull to throw a Zealot into the water and stunlock him while he was in the water because when enemies are in water, they can't do anything.
Yeah, and I also use the skill where you can throw projectiles back at enemies, and since the zealots also have infinite projectiles, you can just cheese them with that.
Yeah, and just to correct you on that, you told me originally that it was on the red skill tree. That move is actually in the blue skill tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Guards who clearly saw Eivor shoot their ally will now turn hostile, which I've never seen because why would I do that? You know?
Yeah. I always use the bow in stealth, and then when I get into combat, I just run away and shoot.
Hmm. Okay, now guards will now hear the impact of dead bodies dropping to the ground. So this is an interesting choice because I never used dead bodies on this game.
Yeah.
Although I
Like
don't know.
I never even like carry dead bodies around.
Yeah, I mean the only time I've ever carried dead bodies is on accident when I'm trying to pick up an NPC, but the prompt doesn't appear, and I pick up the wrong guy, and it's
Yeah.
pretty annoying. Although I'm not too sure what the sound threshold is on the impact of dead bodies dropping to the ground. If it's anything similar to the whistling, then it could also be a very reliable way of distracting enemies or luring them
I
to you.
wonder if like different enemy types make different sounds. Like if bigger enemies make like a louder sound.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool if that was the case. That'd be really cool. Improved guard reactions to whistling. So I know you've fallen into this category, Pikal.
Yeah, I've had so many times where I whistle and the guards just like they hear it and they get up to like investigate, but then they just stand there and then after a while they just go back to what they were doing. And then I have to end up whistling like tons of times and just matching the button. And then I mash too much and then they get into combat with me because that's a mechanic that's in this game and it's stupid.
Yeah, so hopefully they fix that issue. Now, they've improved the disguise behavior in distrust zones. So I don't know what they mean by improve, because like there's a whole thing with the disguise system where when you're crouched and you're moving slowly, that's the same as just being uncrouched and moving very slowly. So you effectively have a very fast way of moving slowly when you're crouched, and the enemies don't recognize you. But if you move fast, then they actually spot you at a greater range and with greater detection. So I'm not sure what they mean by improving the disguise behavior because it already seems fine as it is. Hmm.
I mean, I've had times where like I would get close to an enemy and like even when I was like crouching and like walking slowly, they would still detect me even though I was like really close. But they would detect me like incredibly fast. Like the bar wouldn't like go up slowly. It would be like they would see me and immediately get into combat. It wouldn't even give me a chance.
Oh, so I guess I must be fixing that issue.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because the bar just like in Origins and Odyssey, it would go from like white to yellow to red. But in Valhalla, it just seems like it goes from white to immediately to red.
Okay, so if they improve upon that, that's going to be much better. All right, next thing is shooting bows from the longship now consumes arrows, which I can't imagine why you would ever be in a situation where you'd be shooting bows from your longship. Because,
I didn't even know you could do that until recently.
yeah, like you can even hold your shield out and everyone just holds their shield and you hold your shield, but it's just a very clunky process because it doesn't cover a full 360 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Players will now be able to air assassinate sleeping NPCs. So apparently, you could not do that on sleeping NPCs pre-patch. Hmm.
But
Interesting.
also to me, it seems like most of the time when an NPC is sleeping, they're in a tent, so it's kind of hard to air assassinate them.
Yeah. So I don't see how this is going to be that beneficial. Next thing is that they've improved fish reeling behavior, which I don't really see the point in doing because I don't fish in this game using the fishing
Yeah.
reel. Um, address an issue where the horse wouldn't use the gallop animation in combat. So I know we both stumbled upon this where it just seems like when you're in combat, your horse moves a little slowly than usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And when I'm on the horse, I can never tell while I'm sprinting or not because the animations look the exact same.
yeah, and I know in Origins and Odyssey, when you weren't on horse and like Bayek or Cassandra were in combat, they just seemed to move very slowly because those games didn't have a dedicated sprint
Yeah.
button. So I'm glad they fixed that in Valhalla. In Valhalla, you're able to maintain your full sprint at all times. So you're not going to be moving slowly just because you're in combat. And in those games, in Origins and Odyssey, it felt like it was being very forceful. So you were forced into combat most of the time when such an issue was
Yeah.
there. The crowd will now cheer during drinking games. So I assume cheer is in they just like actually do better animations rather than just
Yeah.
saying skull all the time.
Yeah. So just standing there and saying a skull, they actually do stuff.
Yeah. Okay. The next thing is that they've reworked the sliding mechanic. So I mean, the sliding doesn't really seem that reliable unless you're trying to slide into bushes. But what could they possibly be reworking? I mean, aside from when you're on the slope, you can't do the slide animation. So maybe when you're going down a hill, you'll be able to do the slide rather than just not working.
I mean, there is a thing where like when you're sprinting, like if you go into a crouch while you're sprinting, you do like a short slide. So maybe it's that.
Hmm. Probably. Now we move on to quests, world events, and side activities. So, address an issue where the assassination sequence wouldn't play for some targets. So, I've never come across this issue. Every
Yeah.
assassination sequence has played very well for me, as well as
Okay.
for Pikal. They've addressed various texture issues during cutscenes, so I haven't fallen into that category. Address various issues with quests or world events that prevented players from completing them, so I haven't come across that.
Yeah.
Players can no longer use the fishing tool or the horn during the drunk walk with I can't pronounce that name. Tudor Theodore?
Tedthur or something.
Yeah.
Whatever. Tedthur. I don't
I don't
know.
know, but it's during the Gloucestershire Act, so I can't imagine why you would ever want to use those during the drunk walk. I mean, I didn't really stay that much in the drunk walk anyway because I just skipped all the cutscenes in the Gloucestershire arc. Same with the Essex
Yeah.
arc and the Nottinghamshire arc because I just wanted to get through the game as fast as possible to get to the main story because all that just felt like padding.
Because
But
it was.
yeah, and that's something I really wish they would fix with this game. Like the pacing on this game like, needs to be better. It needs to be
Yeah.
shorter to actually keep you in focus with the main story.
And there needs to be more assassin stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Subquests will now display the correct part of parent quests. So I know you mentioned, like to me before with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, that there would be these like separate.
Yeah, there would be like quests, and then they would have like 3 or 4 support quests that you would have to do to complete the main quest.
Yeah, so that's good that they're bringing that in. The memory stream can now be chosen when starting a new game if hold alternative option is set to on. Hmm, not sure. Not sure what the benefit of that is, but okay. Increased frequency of experienced travelers. So, if you don't know, experienced travelers are these travelers that have question marks on them, and when you interact with them, they reveal a random treasure or a random mystery, or I don't know what is, or a random raid location.
I
Is that
think anything,
hmm,
like really anything.
okay? Like a location?
I think as long as it's like a wealth or mystery or artifact, I think they can reveal it. But it's like random whichever one they reveal.
I see, and I think you can only interact with them once, right?
I think so. I've only talked to like one.
Yeah, same with me. Next thing is the user interface and HUD. Address various issues with the user interface slash HUD. I've come across this once.
Yeah.
When I was on the map, the top bar that said like quests or world, it was in the center of the screen for some reason.
Yeah, I've had that too, and I've also had a time where like I was on the boat and I fast forward back to the settlement, and the controls for the boat were still on my screen even though I was on land.
Yeah. Address various localization issues. So I assume that has to do with language, like depending on where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Address various mouse and keyboard related input issues. So that's good, but we're not on PC. We're on PS4. Secrets will now be discovered when synchronizing a viewpoint. This does not apply to Pathfinder difficulty. So that's good. So rather than having dots on the screen, you're able to see what exactly it is. Yeah. Okay. Experienced travelers are now highlighted on the world map and on the compass when in proximity, which would be helpful if they were actually reliable. But there's really no need
Yeah,
for
but
them.
they're not.
Yeah. Address an
And when you're at the settlement, you can get a cartographer that reveals things anyway.
addressed an issue where the map wouldn't update once players got intel from an experienced traveler. I haven't
Never
seen
had
that.
that, but I've also only talked to one.
Yeah. Increased Odin sight's radius and enemies will now be highlighted for longer. So that's good, but I've also come across issues with Odin sight where for some reason when I use Odin sight, there are times when it doesn't show the full aura. It only shows a part of the body that's actually lit up,
Yeah.
and I can't see them through the walls for some reason. It's very odd. But it's only during key quests, it seems, or when there's like a lot of enemies, I believe. Um, improved radius in which Sunan reveals keys. So that's good. I mean, you can already increase the radius by just having Sunan fly very high into the sky. It's the same case with Origins and Odyssey, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reduce students' view distance of materials. That's dumb. That's
Yeah,
dumb.
that's so stupid.
Like, imagine if you
We
had to
need
do
to
that for
climb
Origins.
so many things.
Yeah, like if you had to do that for Origins, that would be really stupid because Origins and Odyssey, you spend so much time just doing tasks, just so you can progress with the main story and just so you can level up your character. Like, why would you? If you were to put something like that in Origins and Odyssey, that would just really put you off from playing the game because you're forced to do side quests all the time in Origins and Odyssey because of the fact that it's level gated. Not so much in this game, thankfully, with the way they've changed it, which is a good thing. Improve the objective beam behavior. So this is an important thing because the amount of times I've placed a custom marker to see where I'm going and I can't see it because the trees are obstructing it, and I was hoping they would actually make it a little bit higher. Like that could be what they're inferring here, and if that's the case, I'm going to be very happy about that.
I've also had times where like when I tried to use Sunin to like show me where a thing is that I'm looking for, like when you're just like flying with Sunin and you're not holding L2 to zoom in, you have like the arrow that shows you the direction of it, and sometimes it's been hard for me to see that arrow.
Uh yeah. And, I mean, Sunin just seems like a pretty like useless mechanic. Like, it doesn't really seem like it serves a lot of purpose aside from just helping you out and locate areas.
Because they just brought it back from Origins and Odyssey, but then people complained that like, oh, there's no real ego vision, so then they brought Odin sight into it, but then they also kept the bird for some reason.
Yeah, and I just don't feel like Sunan serves any purpose, really. Um, Settlement building beams can now be seen using Odin sight, so that's good if you want to see where you're going. Improved enemy target lock mechanics. So I haven't had any issues with the target lock. I mean, there might be moments where I lock onto the wrong guy, or it prioritizes someone else, or other things
Yeah,
like that. But other than that, it doesn't really didn't affect me that much. But it's good that they're fixing it. Sell all trinkets will now be grayed out after all trinkets were sold.
pointless.
Yeah, pretty pointless.
If you just sold all your trinkets, why would you need to get a reminder that you just sold all your trinkets?
Yeah, I know. Um, Bosses' power levels will now be displayed on their health gauge. This does not apply to regular enemies. So the boss's power levels only showed up when you were a lower level than them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
because
I
like when I first went to Fenrir fight, I didn't know it was a 240 fight because it didn't tell you before. And then I got into it and was like, oh god dang it, it's a 240 fight. And then I left, and then I got up to 240, and I went back and was like, why is it the level power gone? Because apparently it only on before this patch it only showed up when you were a lower level, but if you were the same or a higher level, it was just not there.
hmm. Yeah, and I mean it just seems very pointless though because you can already tell like if the enemy's at the same level as you based on the symbol that's right next to their name. But of course, if you want to be a nerd,
Yeah,
that's a different story.
if you want to be a nerd.
Yeah. Regular brightness settings will no longer apply to HDR exposure settings. Not much to really comment about right there. The codex will no longer foreshadow or spoil some events. And when they're talking about the codex, they're not talking about the Magus codex. They're talking about the database entries. I don't know why they call it a codex in that case, but
Because it's Assassin's Creed and it
yeah,
references Altair's Codex.
yeah. But I know you've come across this issue with the codex.
Yeah, like I probably had more than one thing, but the main thing I know is that like when I was doing the Asgard stuff, I spoiled that the builder fight was like a Jotunheim enemy because I looked in his database entry because I wanted to find out what like more about the builder character, and his picture was the like a Jotunheim enemy instead of like his Asgard disguise. I was like, why? Why would it spoil that?
Yeah, so it's a good thing they're fixing that. Desktop entries and content on Layla's laptop are now narrated when menu narration is on, so they didn't do that before the patch, it seems. Colorblind filters are now applied correctly to mini quest log and raid tutorials, so that's good for anyone who's colorblind. And now we move on to abilities and skills. So, address an issue where players couldn't use any abilities anymore when the dive of the Valkyrie's ability was interrupted. Can't say anything about that because I haven't even gotten the ability yet.
Yeah, I've used that ability sometimes, and I've never had it stop me from using other abilities. But I just hate that it can be interrupted. Like it should give you iframes when you do it, and it's just so dumb that it doesn't.
Yeah, and I know you came across that in your glitch compilation video.
Yeah, I got attacked by a bear and was stuck floating in the air.
Okay, ally NPCs or horses can no longer trigger body traps, so that's good, but I'd never use the body traps.
And
Address the display issue where the poisonous powder trap could become invisible after using Sunan. Never use that. Adjusted chain assassination behavior. Players will no longer be able to assassinate a target who was tackled to the ground. Um, I assume when they're saying tackle to the ground, I assume they're referring to the ability that you can get.
Yeah,
But
because you can get an ability where you can sprint into people and it will knock them down to the ground.
yeah, but I haven't even gotten the chain assassination move yet, so I can't really say for sure.
Also, that reminds you of like the thing that you've always showed me in like Brotherhood and AC2, where like you can like run into people and knock them down to the ground and assassinate them on the ground.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful on those games. It's even more powerful in Assassin's Creed 1 since it was the first one. You counter someone with a sword, you unlock, and then you just run up to them and stab
Yeah,
them with your hidden blade. It's so good, and it really made the combat flow nicely in AC1. Next thing is the secondary hand slot will no longer be available when a two-handed weapon is equipped. So, I mean, I don't even use two-handed weapons anyway.
yeah.
All right, next thing is the flaming powder traps will now explode when walking over the arrow. So I don't know how these traps work because I've never used them, and that's good. That they when walking over the arrow. For raids, this is a big thing for you, dude, because you have a
Yeah. Oh God.
yeah, you have a quite a history with raids. But the force open command will now be displayed correctly, even if nearby allies are in combat.
Good. Like I've had so many times where like I go to force open a door, and then the guy just stands there doing nothing, and everyone else is just like fighting enemies, and I'm just like, why? Why won't you help me open the goddamn door?
Yeah, it's a pretty bad issue. I mean, it's an issue in general with Assassin's Creed. I mean, I know this started after Revelations, where when you're being detected and the enemies are in the investigative state, you just can't interact with certain quests, and this
Yeah.
is just another variation of that. This is a big one for you. Addressed an issue where allies would not help Eivor to open a door during raids.
Like, oh my God, I hate it so much that they didn't do that. Like he was literally standing right next to me, and he wouldn't turn around and open the door. And you can see this in my glitch video, and it's so dumb.
It's what, like
You
10
just
minutes?
stand there doing nothing.
Although the thing is that they only specify a door, they don't specify chests.
Well, they should fix it with the chests too, because it also happens with the chests.
Yeah. Uh, Allies will now return to the longship once a raid is complete, but you already fast travel out of there, so it really doesn't make a
Yeah.
difference. Added a timer until players can restart a raid that was just completed. So this is something that was confusing at first because I didn't even know you could replay areas to raid them, and I was always wondering why it gave me the prompt again. But apparently you can replay the raids, but they're actually giving you a timer to indicate when it's available, which is really good. And now we're moving on to photo mode. Okay, so the first thing is that effect values can now be adjusted with arrow keys or WASD. That's for PC stuff. The no filter option will now work correctly. The territory panel is no longer displayed in photo mode. Changing filters will now work as intended. Address an issue where an online service error could occur temporarily when looking at photos on the world map.
I've had that happen to me where like I just happen to scroll over a picture and it would be like online service error even when I was connected to the internet. I was like, okay, thanks.
That sucks. Snow effects will now center to the camera instead of the player in photo mode. Now for system, for PC, updated README files to show correct PC specifications. They've added additional checkpoints to some boss sites, so this is pretty good if they actually add checkpoints to Fenrir, because Fenrir is a damage sponge. He takes so long to
Yeah.
beat.
Fenrir just reminds me of like the entirety of Odyssey.
Yeah, no kidding. And just these arbitrary values, like doing like 10,000 damage to an enemy, but then it's just like you take off
Yeah.
like 1/16th of a
For some
bar.
reason, you can only hit Fenrir in the legs. For some reason, even though you should be able to hit him in like the head or the tail or something.
Yeah, and that's bad, especially when he glitches out and he just
Yeah.
phases under the map. Address an issue that led controllers to vibrate constantly. So I've been in this category. I've had moments where my controller's been vibrating endlessly. And speaking of endless issues, and this is not addressed in the patch notes, I had an infinite meditation glitch when I was doing the mission in Nottinghamshire where you're supposed to fight Hemming your Jarl. And I did something that triggered an infinite meditation bug where I would meditate, I would then move a little bit, and then it would force me back into the meditation stance, and it was just looping constantly. And even when I loaded a different save, when I loaded into Gloucestershire to do a different mission, it still continued the bug, and I had to close the application entirely to fix this issue. So
Oof.
that's pretty bad. Address an issue where players could become stuck in a black screen after closing the menu with start.
Never had that.
Never had that either. And this is the final part of the patch. So they've updated the auto detect config for NVIDIA GeForce 1650S for PC. And that's really it. So overall, this patch is pretty decent. I mean, are there any issues that the patch didn't address that you've come across?
They should fix soft locks because I had the soft lock in the builder fight that I had.
Oh, and the crashes. You told me so many times you had like 10 to 15
I've had
crashes.
so many crashes, dude. Oh my god. I don't even know how many I've had because I've lost count.
Yeah, it's funny that you have that many crashes, yet for me, I've only had like 3 crashes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for like the first week that I was playing the game, I had like at least 2 crashes per day.
Pretty bad. That's very poor optimization, but I guess that's to be
It was
expected. And
so dumb.
yeah, I guess that's to be expected if this game is being optimized for PS5 and the next gen consoles.
Yeah.
But yeah, that has been the full patch analysis. So once again, this is a pretty good patch. I hope in the future patches they'll address some new issues, and I know for sure with the DLCs there'll probably be new issues for patches. So that'll
Yeah.
be intriguing. But thank you all for watching, and you take care now.